UFC 273 recap. We got lots to talk about. I'm just going to go into the main three fights. Obviously, the other fights, we had some good fights on the card, but the main three everyone want to talk about, I'm going to get into those. So let's start off with Hamzat versus Burns. So when asked before of this fight, when I said to take those three picks, someone asked me, who are you the least confident on out of all the three? And I told them Hamzat Chimaev. And the main reason was he's taking this fight during Ramadan. And that is huge, you know what I'm saying? You're taking this fight, you're already depleting your body, cutting to 170, but now you can't eat or drink water for the entire month of April during daylight hours. You know, even in between the rounds, I don't even think he drank any water, wasn't staying hydrated at all. So just think about that from if that was you. You know, I'm not here to make excuses for the fight. It was he took the fight, so he probably knew how he was feeling in training, and that's if you're going to take the fight, you better be ready. And at the end of the day, he got it done. He got the job done. He didn't look as good as everyone expected him to, but I think that was a huge part to play. Even when asked by some of my friends, I'm like, man, it's going to be tough, dude, taking this fight during Ramadan. Like, that's tough. You see a lot of Muslim athletes, top guys like Khabib, they're not fighting during the months of April. And there's a reason why, you know what I mean? You want to be 100%, and just during this Ramadan, if you're not eating water, you're not drinking for the entire day, dude, it's tough, man. It's tough fasting like that. And then having to fight at the professional level. But no excuses, man. Burns looked great, dude. Burns looked a lot better than I thought he was going to. He looked amazing. I thought I had Hamzat winning the first round pretty easily. He got the knockdown at the end. He's the only guy, Burns is the only guy you would see Hamzat not going in for the kill for, because that's how dangerous Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu is. You know, Hamzat just got his purple belt, which is pretty cool to see. You know, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. And yeah, that's cool to see, man. And he probably rolls with high-level black belts, so he's probably knows to stay away from the ground from certain guys. So that was good fight. I think that was the best thing for Hamza. I think he learned a lot from that. If he fights Usman or Kobe, I'm still gonna bet Hamza Chimaev. I don't care what anyone says until I think he still beats them. I think he's gonna learn a lot. I think he's gonna come back better. And a lot of people are like, man, odds makers had this so wrong. Odds makers had this so wrong. No, I think odds makers had this pretty correct, because if you're an odds maker, your job is to create two-way traffic on a fight, right? Let's say you're an odds maker on the fight. Your job is to create two-way traffic, which means you want people to bet Gilbert Burns and you want people to bet Hamzat Chimaev. So by putting the odds if at plus 400 for Gilbert Burns, that's exactly what they did. People were already going to bet Hamzat Chimaev. They're already riding the train. However, no way people were going to bet Gilbert Burns if he was a plus 150, even a plus 200. No one was going to take him. But you put him at a plus 400 now, plus 450, all of a sudden you're creating a lot of traffic on Gilbert Burns. So I think the odds makers had that pretty correct. So let's get into the next fight, Jan versus Sterling. So I wanted to, before I made this video, I wanted to go back just to watch the fight again. I rewatched that first round a few times, maybe 4 times, and I did give that first round to Peter Yan. I gave the second and the third, obviously, to Sterling. He had the back the whole time. No way you can call it a 10-8. He had the back. He dominated position, but he was landing no damage. He didn't even get close to a submission on there. So I don't think you give him a 10-8. And then rounds 4 and 5, easily Peter Yan. So the only round in question is obviously round 1. And going back, I watched the round, and I thought Peter Yan won the round. I'm not a numbers guy. I don't give a shit if I don't even looked at the numbers. But I usually don't care, because, you know, numbers in fights are subjective. Like, for example, you can land 10 significant strikes and I land 1 significant strike, but that one hurts you. On paper, they're both counted as a significant strike, but realistically, one was a lot more significant than the other. So you got to really watch the fights instead of looking at the numbers. But that's just my opinion. And yeah, to be honest, Aljo looked good physically at the weigh-in. I was like, wow. I'm not here to say he was juicing or anything because I know the UFC does test their fighters. But I was like, wow, he does look good. And the thing is, Peter Yan did not have his coaches, so you don't have your coaches pushing you during training, which is, I don't know why he doesn't have his coaches. Like, I'm pretty sure his coaches got nothing to do with Ukraine and what's going on. So the fact that they're not even allowed in the US just, drives me nuts, especially for a huge fight like this. Title fight. So fucking bullshit. Trump was president, Dana would have got those coaches in, but I want to see the rematch, man. I really do want to see the rematch, and I'll tell you why. If they can give Moreno and Figueiredo 4 or 5 fights, man, you can give this another fight. First fight, obviously, Jan. Everyone thought Jan was winning, and then the illegal knee. So controversy there. Now there's controversy in this second fight. Do it again. Run it back. TJ can wait, or TJ can fight Merab Dvalishvili or something. And yeah, but at the end of the day, that's the way she goes sometimes, I've made bets like before, like when I used to bet boxing more. I placed a bet one time, Manny Pacquiao versus, I believe it was Jeremy Horn in Australia. And man, I took Manny Pacquiao by the decision. I think it was like minus 138 or something at the time. And he won the decision, literally dominated every round, or like 10 out of 12, and they still gave the fight to Jeremy Horn. And that's boxing. That's fighting in general, right? Until they come out with an open scoring system, which it takes away the power from the promoter and the judges, is what it does. You see a lot of time after the fights, the judges are taking so long with the cards to give it to the announcer. It's like, what's going on here? You didn't watch the fight; it just happened. The round, sorry. And it's bullshit. Rounds should be open. If I can see the score in a hockey game or soccer game or other professional sports, I want to see who won that round, who the judges think won that round. And then it's good for the fighters too. You're like, hey man, I'm down in the fight. I need to go turn it up. Maybe Jan thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth. Maybe Aljo thought it was 3-1. I don't know. No one knows because no one's allowed to see the fucking scores, which is bullshit. So until they come up with open scoring, which I think is huge for the sport, it'll take a lot of power away from the judges and from the promoters. And that's what I really want to see. But yeah, it's the way she goes sometimes. Dude, I was so mad. I fucking placed a bet on after that fight. If you look at the time, I'll maybe post a bet here. Look at the time I placed this bet. Right after the Jan fight, and I took Volkanovski by knockout. I was so mad at Jan losing. I was like, this is bullshit. Just tilt bet, steam betting. Even though I won, I shouldn't have probably did it just to win some money back. But it is what it is sometimes. Main thing is, when I tell people about this, is make sure you're betting the same amount for every event. So let's say you bet $1,000, right? For us, we know we play the double up game. So let's say we bet $1,000 each UFC. If you do that, you will not, lose on your gambling portfolio and saying like, hey, I'm going to up my bet this one and then it loses. Sometimes that's not going to work out for you. So I like to keep the same bet. That's why you hear me say a lot, a G week. So you bet the same amount. And if you look, our last 6 UFCs, we were able to go 100% and win 6 straight. This one, we lost, obviously. But if we didn't bet more, which we bet the same every time, we're still going to be up 6K instead of 7K if we won. But that's the way she goes, right? So that's why I tell a lot of people, G Week, try not to increase your bets too much. Try to keep a number you can really stick with, and it'll help your portfolio a lot. Obviously, you can get lucky sometimes and hit that big one, right? But I like to keep it nice and steady. For the Volkanovski zombie fight, I'm not going to get into too much because I just knew going into this fight after hearing from insiders, Zombie was injured going into the fight. I knew they were supposed to have it in March. They pushed it back to April. And then, when the injury got disclosed by insiders, all of a sudden Volkanovski went from minus 400 to minus 800. So I'm like, oh, there's something up here. Zombie wasn't even supposed to be in there. It was supposed to be Max Holloway. But yeah, easily dominated by Volkanovski as expected. Chan Sung Jung did not belong in there with them. But I'd like to think what is next for Volkanovski, and the probably easy answer is Max Holloway until they get that fight settled. But let's say there's no Max Holloway. Who else is you gonna throw in there? I mean, there's Arnold Allen, but I don't know if he's ready for that. There's a few guys at the bottom of the top 15 that got to work their way up. Obviously, like Mavsar and Taporia. But man, Volkanovski's just killing that division, dude. Killing it. And who knows? Maybe he cleans out. If he beats Max, man, I could see him going up. Even though he's a small featherweight, I could see him going up and fighting Oliveira. Even though it might not be the smartest move to make, but it is what it is. Let's see here. Yeah. Arnold Allen. A lot of people are thinking Arnold Allen has a chance against Volk. I think he needs a few more fights. So let's get him at one or two more big fights before we are able to push him in there. Same with Taporia and Mavsar. So hopefully Max is ready. And him versus Volk, that's going to be a great fight. But yeah, there's your 273 recap. And hopefully we're going to drop the picks for the next UFC. And yeah, tune in.